Welcome into Foxwalk Primitive, back here at day 2 at Blade Show. Right now, I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Chris Tanner. He's here. We're going to get a rundown on Jessica X. The model number was the
SCHF 43.
43. So Chris, you know, it's a unique blade. Let's get a rundown of it.
Okay, so basically, this one here is my first knife design. I've got 3 coming out this year, one with Schrade, one with LT Wright, which we'll take a look at in a sec, and one with Dark Timber. But what I try to do whenever I design a knife is I go for function and I go for something that hasn't been done before. It's hard to come up with anything in the knife world that has not been done before. So where I started was, everybody tries to do something different with the blade. I try to do something different with the handle. It's got 3 hand positions. So the forward hand position up here at the choil, this will allow me to do the small carving stuff, sharpening sticks, things like that. The second position, this is just, you know, I got to cut something or maybe just some small controlled chops. This is mainly a chopper. This is mainly designed for heavy woods processing, batoning, chopping, things like that. And then the third hand position, the back end is designed off of a barong. So when you slide down here, this changes the angle of the blade and it gives it more of a forward kukri-esque type of chopping ability. So once I tested that out and I went out and I started chopping with this thing, it was just absolutely devastating the way this thing was chopping into wood. So it's a design that's not going to be for everybody, but there's a lot of us that just like big knives, and then you got the crowd that, you know, wants a more traditional bushcraft knife and an axe, and that's just the way that they're wired. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But for those of us that like big knives, like to try something different, this is my big chopping tool, my big batoning tool. And then I also designed the sheath. So with this one, what I wanted to go with is a baldric style carry. So it's adjustable. You would carry it crossways across your body. It kind of hangs right here, but it's kind of loose, so I can twist it, draw the knife. It's easy. They put a thigh strap on it. That wasn't me. I don't need a thigh strap on it. But they've also changed this a little bit. The final production, this part right here, will be attached by a Velcro flap. So if you don't want to use it baldric style and you want to put it on a belt, you can carry it that way. So that's basically the thought process that went into Jessica X. And this is the only knife out of all my designs that has a straight edge on the blade. Everything beyond that has got a continuously curved blade. But for this one, that's the way I wanted it, and it works. This is a little bit better than the last one that I actually tested. The last one I tested, I had a little bit of a hump here. We hadn't contoured the different points. This is a lot more comfortable. So really impressed with Schrade. They got this right. It was a tricky design. You know, they took a leap of faith on it, but I think it works. And what I'm hoping to accomplish out of this is just to get more people trying to think outside the box when they're designing knives. And not everything has to be the same knife over and over and over and over again. There is room to innovate and come up with some new stuff.
Was there? You said you had inspiration from a barong.
Well, this part
here.
Most barongs have that kind of hook, and I like that because it locks your hand in solidly. It's not going to slip out of your hand, and just the way that your hand wraps around that gives you a comfortable grip and puts that angle down. So right about here, this is where you're actually striking the wood to chop with. So depending on where you put it, it just functions differently.
And the overall, I know from what I've read and with discussions going on about this, a lot of people are being thrown off by the length of the hand.
Yeah,
can you give some insight onto, instead of making it an extension, you know, in length this way, instead of just like having the hook like right there? What was the influence to have it as long as
well,
it
for
is?
one, no one's ever done it before. Two, the 3-position handle. If it was just a slightly longer handle, it would just be another big knife. But it would not have the key thing about this knife is its chopping power, and you would not have that without this. This is what gives it. The handle and the blade. A lot of knives, the handle is the afterthought. The blade is the big thing. Not enough people pay enough attention to the handle. With the design on this, the handle and the blade are symbiotic. Each one depends on the other. So I understand it's an outside the box thing because no one's done anything like this before, and it's going to look weird because people just think that looks like a big handle. They're used to thinking about, okay, this is knife, this is handle, I grip it, that's too much space. Well, that's a position, that has a function. This is a position, that has a function. This is a position, that has a function. It's something different. I don't want to do the same stuff that everybody else does.
And you've heard me say before, speaking with Habilis and some few other knife makers, the uniqueness is a trend that's starting, and guys like myself are hoping that it continues and steamrolls and really gets the momentum of a train behind it. And we like having it cleared up. I know there's a lot of discussion about this knife. There's a lot of it's anticipated, that's for sure. When are we looking at getting this thing on shelves?
They told me about late August.
Late August?
About the same time my other one comes out on LT Wright.
Okay, so that is the final design prototype.
Yeah.
That is what's going to hit the shelf.
Yes, this is not going, the knife is not, the sheet's going to change a little bit where this is going to be removable, but the knife, this is the final knife. And I went for a simple coating because the people that watch me, I've pretty much got everybody stripping their knives and customizing. I want to be able to customize this myself. I didn't want a big heavy I hate traction coatings. Like traction, whoever invented that, I want a time machine. I want to go back in time and smack them. Because they're just, who thought of that? Learn to oil your knives. And we don't need truck bed liner on a knife. So this will hold up for a little bit. I don't expect it to hold up a long time. Most coatings won't. But it's easy for me to strip this if I want to, do a high polish. That's what I did on my demo model, or glue it, or patina it, whatever you want to do with it. I'm all about customizing a knife and making it your own.
You put a lot of focus into this handle, and that seems to be your one of your design philosophies is a lot of attention to the handles.
I've seen, there's some knives, I won't name names, but there's knives that I pick them up and I hold the handle in my hand and I'm just like, what's the disconnect here? This is a knife is a tool, you got to work with it, and if it's not comfortable in your hand for a long period of time, it's a bad handle. People need to, I see knives where it's just like flat handles. It's got hot spots. I mean, I have a test that I do to determine whether I think it's a good handle or not, and that is to take a knife and squeeze it as hard as you can, and does it hurt? If it doesn't hurt, it's a good handle.